means to be entangled.
Question number 9, Melissa Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Government Digital Services and asks, does she stand by all of the government's actions in regards to the appointment of a Chief Technology Officer? And if not, why not?
The Honourable Dr Megan Woods.
Yes, in the context in which they were undertaken.
Supplementary question. How does she justify a $500,000 budget for a small committee of digital experts to replace the scrap Chief Technology Officer position when the total expenditure of the Digital Economy and Digital Inclusion Ministerial Advisory Group, made up of 13 people that met formally 7 times this year, was estimated at just over $200,000?
Mr Speaker, I think the member is getting ahead of herself. The letter that we sent to stakeholders yesterday was around the fact that we have come to the conclusion that in terms of the strategic leadership role in technology for New Zealand, there is more than one person required, and that policy work will be carried out and a full cabinet will be taken to cabinet in March. I'd like to remind that member that actually the government she was part of had 9 years in government and did nothing about putting this leadership in place until the last 3 months in which they were in government.
Supplementary. Does she stand by her commitment in October that the Digital Economy and Digital Inclusion Ministerial Advisory Group will continue to exist?
Mr Speaker, I have met several times with that group since I have taken over this portfolio, and I discussed as recently as this week with that group around what their role in the future will be and what an important role they had to play. When the Prime Minister asked me to take on this portfolio, she asked me to consider that role in conjunction with Callaghan Innovation. She asked me to consider that role in conjunction with other parts of government, like the government's Chief Digital Officer, and I will continue to work through that with the Ministerial Advisory Group.
Supplementary. Why is she establishing yet another ministerial advisory group when she has a digital economy team at MB, a DIDIMEC, which is Digital Economy and Digital Inclusion Ministerial Advisory Group of 13 people, a digital stakeholder network of roughly 300 people, a government chief data steward, a government chief digital officer, and a government technology officer, let alone countless other public servants and private sector stakeholders and her own advisors who can already support her for no further cost to the taxpayer?
Mr Speaker, I think it would have been useful if the member had listened to my previous answer, that policy work is still being done on that. But I would like to draw the member's attention to where the previous government got to in the 3 months they did work over 9 years. The conclusions they came to, and I advise those members to listen carefully, were a working group of MB, DIA, SSC, DPMC and Treasury staff working on developed options, and the solution comprising a group with attached secretariat structure was proposed to the former minister.
Supplementary. Why doesn't the minister just admit this whole process has been an absolute shambles from start to finish, costing the taxpayers hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars?
What I will admit, Mr Speaker, is this is a government committed to putting in place the leadership around digital technology that party failed to do in government over 9 years.
Question number 10, Jenny Marcroft.
Tēnā koe, Mr Speaker.